I knew that there was something wrong with me, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know that my nervous system was dysregulated. I didn't even know what it felt like to have a regulated nervous system. I just thought that that was my personality, to be irritable, to be cranky all the time, to be chronically stressed out, to overwork and overcommit and then get burned out. I thought it was just my personality to be super inconsistent with things and late all the time. And I blamed a lot of things. I blamed my husband. I thought it was his fault. And I have an amazing husband. So to think that he was doing something wrong is crazy. He's awesome. But I was blaming things on him. I was blaming things on my job. I was blaming things on my work level, even though I wasn't even doing a lot. I blamed things on our apartment life. And I thought things would just be better if we lived in a house. But looking back, almost every single thing that I was struggling with could be traced back to just two things. Hi, guys. If you're new here, welcome. And my name is Shelby. This channel is about learning how to regulate your nervous system and be a happy and joyful and regulated person, getting things done productively and working with your brain rather than against your brain with self-discipline. I've been recently diagnosed with ADHD, and that realization completely changed my life. And this channel is me telling you how I changed my life, how I've implemented tons of new strategies to manage my ADHD symptoms and make my life 1,000 times better. Also, I work full time outside of the home. A lot of ADHD advice that I have found on YouTube, at least, is by people who work full time from home or aren't working full time or have kids or are full time YouTubers. So, a lot of their ADHD advice isn't really relatable to me because I work in the healthcare field full time outside of my home and I don't always have control over my environment. So if you can relate to any of that, and if you want to come along with me and learn more about all of this, please hit subscribe and like this video. It really means a lot to me and it does a lot for this channel. So looking back, I was dysregulated all the time. I was stuck in chronic fight or flight. And I had clinically diagnosable ADHD and I didn't know it. So before I learned all of this, I could not wake up in the morning. I would sleep in or my alarm would go off and I would just get right back into bed. I would sleep way too late and I would be late for work all the time. I would sleep a lot. I wasn't struggling to sleep. I was almost sleeping too much. Sleeping for me was a way to just get away from everything. It was almost like my nervous system was forcing me to just shut down because that was the only way it knew how to cope. I didn't really have any hobbies. I would get really, really excited and into something for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, and then I would totally lose interest in it and completely stop doing that thing. And I could never stick with a consistent hobby over time. And my husband thought that that was really weird because he has had the same hobbies for years, almost his entire life. You can track back exactly what his hobbies are. And he was always like, why don't you have any hobbies? Why don't you do anything consistently? And I had so much shame with that because I didn't know. I didn't ever do any consistent hobbies at all. Going out and socializing with friends was exhausting to me. I often just didn't want to go. I never wanted to leave the house. If I did go out and do anything, I felt so drained and dysregulated afterwards. My nervous system would just be haywire. I would feel so anxious and I would be perseverating on negative thoughts and everything that I said and everything that I could have done better or something that I did wrong or that person said that or looked at me like this. And I would just, those thoughts would just spiral in my mind. My mornings would just slip through my fingers and I would get up early. I had phases of like getting up at 5 a.m. and yet I wouldn't leave for work until 10 a.m. And I had no idea where my time was going. Managing time for me was like trying to hold water in a strainer. It was just slipping through my fingers. I had no idea how to manage my time. Even though I was implementing tons of routines and new strategies and different structures for my mornings, they would either fall apart or just not last. I was always running late for things. I procrastinated on everything. And I didn't really think that it was procrastination. I just thought that, I have more time to get it done. And then I would forget about it until the day before it's due, and I would panic. Whereas I would compare to my husband, who was getting his master's degree at the time, and he would have an assignment due like 4 months from now, and he would get it done now, even though it's not due for another several months, because he's just like, well, I have time now, so I'll do it now, and then I don't have to worry about it. I could not relate to that at all. And meanwhile, I have this little thing that would have taken me like 10 minutes to get done if I had done it before. And now I'm panicking because I waited until the last second. My mind would constantly spiral with negative thoughts. I thought I was a failure. I thought I was lame. I thought I was boring. I thought I was a horrible wife. I thought I was a horrible friend. My husband made his life look so easy. He was so relaxed and happy and just had hobbies and things that he enjoyed. And I was living right next to him, the same life as him, but I was struggling so much and I didn't know why. Eating felt like a chore to me, and it always has my whole life. Getting up and getting something to eat has always been so cumbersome and so overwhelming to think about what to eat, get up and go get food, sit down and eat the food, and stay focused long enough to actually finish the food and not get distracted. I would just simply forget to eat. I would skip meals for days and forget to eat until I was so hungry that I was literally shaking. And by that time, I was too nauseous to eat, and too, like, my blood sugar was too low to even be able to get up and get myself something to eat. This has been a problem my entire life, and I didn't know why. I would be starving hungry. I would get something to eat. I would take 2 bites of it, and then I would be full and distracted by other things and get up and I wouldn't finish my plate of food. And an hour later, I'd be starving hungry again. Why? I was nauseous all the time. I would eat and then be like overly full and nauseous, and then I would forget to eat, and then I would be nauseous because I didn't eat. This was my everyday experience. Every day, this is what my life was like. I was miserable. And I came from a good family. I have a great job. I have a great career. I was making good money. I have an amazing husband, a strong marriage. We don't even have kids yet, so that wasn't a stress. We lived in a really nice area. I was active and involved in church. I am a born again believer in Jesus, and my faith was strong. I was reading my Bible, and actually, my faith in Christ was one of the only things keeping me afloat during that time. And yet, I wasn't just struggling with one thing. Every area of my life felt like it was harder for me than it was for everyone else. Everyone else made their lives look so easy, like they just had it managed. And I don't have kids, have a great job, have a great life, am struggling and I'm miserable. And I couldn't figure out why. And I thought that there was something wrong with me. So I started trying a bunch of things to make life better for myself. I tried exercising, and I would go through phases of exercising regularly, and then I would kind of fall off. I tried eating really healthy, and I would go through phases of eating really healthy, and then I would fall off and I couldn't sustain it. And generally in life, we do eat pretty healthy, but like I couldn't sustain pre-prepping my vegetables every single week. I tried going outside more and going on walks. I tried meditations. I tried everything within my own power and control to make things better, and nothing was really helping. And like I said, I blamed it on other things. I blamed it on my job. And I did have a really stressful job at the time. I finally quit that job and I got a better job that I'm in now, and I love it. I'm a physical therapist assistant at a really nice nursing home with a big team of full-time therapists, and we all have great rapport with each other, and we're a great team, and it's a fun job. I love my job. And we bought a house. And so now I have this beautiful backyard and deck and a house that I love in a really nice neighborhood. And I was still super depressed and miserable. And it was at that point that I realized that I had done everything in my own control to get things better, and nothing was helping. I had run out of options and tools of things that I could think of to make things better for myself. And I decided like there's literally nothing more that I can do for myself to make things better. I need help. So I finally went to my doctor, explained what was going on, and told her that I thought I was depressed. I was. I was very depressed. And so she gave me an antidepressant. That helped tremendously. But I also started going to counseling. And this is when I had some major breakthroughs. And I had been to counseling before. I'm not saying like, oh, counseling is amazing, like that'll fix everything. No, I had been to counseling before, but this counselor taught me something that I never knew before. This counselor taught me how to regulate my nervous system, which I had never heard of before. I mean, I had heard of the concept, but I didn't know how to actually do it. This counselor taught me about my vagus nerve and vagus nerve reset exercises. So my very first counseling session, the very first one that I had with her, this was online on my computer. And so I was going up to the office to start my counseling session. So I was on the website, I was in the portal, and I had like the video running because I was ready and she was going to get on the other side at any point, but I was still like in the waiting, like the digital waiting room. But I had the camera and microphone turned on because I was sitting there waiting for her. While I was waiting, I ended up going downstairs to like get a drink of water or something. And for some reason, I can't remember what it was, but my husband and I got into an argument downstairs while I was waiting for my counselor to come on the computer, and we started fighting and arguing about something, which we were doing frequently back then because I was a horrible person to be around. And we're fighting, and meanwhile the counselor comes onto the computer and she's hearing our fight, and I get so upset and I have tears in my eyes, and I walk in to the office to sit in front of my computer, and I realize that she has just heard the entire thing. And I break down crying, and I'm telling her, like, I'm so sorry. I'm not normally like this. I love my husband. He's my best friend. I just don't know what to do. And I was so upset. And she, right there and then, I'm sure she said a couple things, but to calm me down, to get me ready for a productive counseling session. Remember that this is the first time she's ever met me. At the very beginning of our session, she walks me through a vagus nerve reset. A vagus nerve reset is okay. So this is what it looks like. So basically, you put your finger in your ear in like this little spot right here, and just do like circles in your ear, and you do that for 30 seconds on each side, both directions. And then you like stroke down your neck and do like tapping on your neck, and then you tap on your chest, and then you do this thing where you like put your hands behind your head like this, and then turn your eyes all the way to the side and just stare to the side with your eyes, just holding your eyes to the side for as long as it takes to take like a deep breath or a yawn. It sounds crazy. It sounds absolutely insane. And if you've done this before, you know what I'm talking about. But I had never heard of this before. I had no idea that this was a thing. I completed this exercise with her. I actually yawned and I felt so calm. And we were able to have a really good conversation. And she started teaching me other practical ways, like actual exercises to physically do with my body to activate different nerves and trigger points to regulate my nervous system. That was the first time I had ever learned even the difference between a regulated nervous system and a dysregulated nervous system. How to actually put myself into rest and repose versus fight or flight. This was the first time I had ever experienced how you can manually assist your body through actual exercises to help your nervous system from fight or flight to get into rest and repose, other than like deep breathing, which didn't always work for me. This vagus nerve reset was life changing for me. There's kids playing in the neighborhood and they're like yelling right behind me. Okay, I am so sorry if you can hear that in the background. There's a kid mowing our neighbor's yard. They literally just walked down the sidewalk with their little push mowers, and now they're mowing to make money. And it's adorable, but he's being very loud. I think it's okay though. I think the audio is going to be okay, but I apologize if you can hear that background noise. Okay, so my counselor taught me this vagus nerve exercise, and I guess it was the first time I ever realized the difference between being regulated and dysregulated. And I learned that I actually had control over helping myself be more regulated. Before, I would be stressed and I knew that I was stressed, or sometimes I didn't even know I was stressed, but I certainly didn't know what to do about it. This gave me tools and opened the door to like, no, you can actually help yourself calm down and be more regulated. You can center yourself. There are ways to do that other than just meditating or doing deep breathing exercises. So that was the first big realization for me. The second realization, though, was that my counselor told me that she suspected that I had ADHD. She asked me if I knew that I had ADHD, and I was like, no, I don't have ADHD. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I can focus just fine. In fact, I actually hyper focus. Like, I'm not bouncing off the walls. I'm definitely not ADHD. But she was like, I think you need to do some more looking into ADHD, because she told me, she's like, what you said about not being able to manage time slipping through your fingers like water in a strainer, and eating feels like a chore to you. She said those sound like ADHD and you should get diagnosed or assessed. So I started doing research on what ADHD is and how it presents in adult women, and I was blown away. My life for the very first time ever like made sense. Everything that I was struggling with could be attributed back to ADHD and a dysregulated nervous system. Everything I was struggling with could be connected back to having ADHD and having a very dysregulated nervous system that I did not know how to deal with. I realized that not being able to wake up in the morning, that's ADHD. Not being able to get things done and procrastinating on everything and knowing that I need to get it done, but I just can't get up to do it, that's ADHD. Forgetting to eat, ADHD. Feeling like eating is a chore and being overwhelmed at the thought of even getting up and finding something to eat, that's ADHD. Taking 2 bites, getting distracted, feeling full, that's ADHD. Not getting the right hunger cues and forgetting to eat, that's ADHD. Everything that I was struggling with, being dysregulated and perseverating on negative thoughts after a social interaction, that's ADHD. All of these things, I had no idea what any of this was until I started learning about it. Realizing this stuff put me on a path that has completely flipped my life around to where I am now, regulated and happy and productive and doing a YouTube channel, for heaven's sake. I am the happiest I have ever been in my life. And I can attribute it all to learning ADHD strategies and how to actually manage my symptoms and learning how to regulate my nervous system. And also being on an antidepressant. That did help a lot. Don't let me minimize that. Being on an antidepressant really, really helped. But also just learning how to manage my dopamine, learning how to harness dopamine and harness my ADHD for good. This is what this channel is about. There are so many tools and strategies that you can use to counterbalance what you are struggling with. And this channel is me sharing with you one by one or a couple at a time my experiences and my strategies that I have figured out of how to regulate and how to manage my ADHD while working full-time outside of the home. So learning all of these strategies and figuring out how to regulate my nervous system, what changed? What is life like now? It's not perfect. I'm not perfect. there's definitely no perfection happening, But now, when I am feeling stressed, dysregulated, that out of body experience where I feel like I'm just disconnected from my surroundings, or like everything is coming in around me and just like I feel claustrophobic, or I feel just completely overwhelmed, or there's so much sensory around me and I just can't focus. I now know how to recognize that, and I know how to bring myself down and calm myself down out of that with many different strategies. Now, when I am bored and unmotivated and don't want to get out of bed, I know why and I know what to do to help myself. And I no longer feel shame about it. And that's a big one. I used to feel so much shame and failure and just like I'm not good enough because of all of these things. Now, whenever I deal with ADHD symptoms and being dysregulated or being stressed or not being able to get something done or not being able to initiate a task or procrastinating on something, now I know why and I have tools to deal with it. I don't feel helpless anymore. Now I know how to work with my brain in the way that it functions rather than working against it and just forcing myself through force of will and feeling shame when it didn't work. And I'm not sharing any of this because I have it all figured out and everything's hunky dory now. I don't know all there is to know about ADHD, and I'm certainly not perfect, and I still struggle with things. So I'm not sharing this because, like, I know everything, follow me. I'm sharing this because 3 years ago, I thought that that way of living was just the way that my life was going to go. I didn't know there was anything I could do about it. I thought that that way of living was just me and my life, and that was just going to be forever. And just learning those two things, regulating your nervous system and managing ADHD symptoms, completely altered my life and elevated my life to being so much better. We had a family vacation recently, and I was going on a hike with my sister-in-law and my niece. And we were talking about how she struggles with a lot of the things that I would struggle with, like appetite and sleeping in and feeling this weird out of body anxiety experience and being really overwhelmed and perseverating and being nauseous all the time. And I was telling them about how I used to feel that way too until I learned these certain things. And they were kind of blown away. Like, oh my gosh, what do you mean? Like, how do you regulate dopamine? Like, what does that even mean? And there's a bug flying around the camera. They're like, how do you regulate dopamine? What does that have to do with anything? How do you regulate your nervous system? Like, what kinds of strategies have you come up with? And it occurred to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, not everyone knows this. Like, I kind of thought for a while that like I was behind the times, like I was the only one who didn't know this stuff, and like everybody else knows this stuff and I'm just now coming around to realizing it. But when I started talking to them about it, they didn't know any of this either, and they were asking me so many questions. And that is why I have this YouTube channel. That is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because not everyone does know how to regulate their nervous system. Not everyone does know that there is things you can do to help yourself get better. So I guess I want to end this video with hope that if you can relate to any of this, if you also feel the way that I was feeling, hit subscribe and just come along with me and see if any of this helps, because it really, really helps me. I don't know how to end this video other than I'm glad you're here. And if you watched all the way through, thank you for that. I really appreciate you being here and listening to my story. And I just really hope that it was helpful to you and that you could kind of relate to some of it. Was there anything else I wanted to say? Yeah, no, I think that was it.